Welcome to the audio companion of It's Only Me. I'm John Underwood, and what follows is a brief excursion into the life of Ted Williams. I knew Ted for many years, and because of the writing I did on his life and on our adventures together, had occasion to record much of what he had to say about baseball, about hunting and fishing, about sports writers and politicians and the ups and downs of stardom, about the wars he was in, both overseas and at home, about growing up in San Diego with a singular desire to be the greatest hitter who ever lived, and about the turmoil and the tears en route to that destination, and yes, about his innermost feelings on life itself. What follows are a few of the highlights from those conversations taken from our times together on 4 continents. Ted's comments, as always with him, are candid to the extreme, and some may find the language offensive. But that's Ted, so try not to be taken aback. The fidelity of the recordings might not always have been state-of-the-art, but the content, as you'll find, was never dull. The Ted Williams I knew was exactly that, honest, to the point, and wonderfully spontaneous, even when it might hurt him. He was, in every way, one of a kind. I hope you enjoy the following few excerpts from those conversations. Ted begins here with his own discussion and remembrances of his childhood days in San Diego.
Tell me about the neighborhood and what it looked like. And
well, the neighborhood, the city water tank was right close by, right next to the playground, and I was 4 blocks from my junior high school. I'm from my grammar school, and just about this time again, 11 or 12, I was in the 5th and 6th grades. And it was just during this time that I started to just go all out for playing, baseball was the game I wanted to play. And the only other game I really played a lot of was handball and horseshoes. I never liked basketball, because the basketball always felt like it was 4 times bigger than it was. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't particularly big at that time. I was kind of tall and thin, but I didn't have very much strength. I couldn't run very good. And so baseball was the game I was playing all the time.
Where did you live, in a house or an apartment?
Oh yeah, we had a house, little house in San Diego that my mother got this house through the kindness of the Spreckles out there. The Spreckles, you've heard the Spreckles?
Yeah, but
they're a big important family out there.
Yeah.
And my mother wanted this house, and I think they bought the house from my mother. My mother was going to pay him back. I'm not so sure that she ever paid him back. I think eventually they gave the house to my mother. I'm not sure. I don't know that part of it. But I do know because of the kindnesses of the Spreckles, at that time we got that house. And at the time that she bought it, it was a $4,000 house. And in North Park area. And I remember, before we moved out there, the thing I remember furthest back in my recollection was when the Shenandoah flew over San Diego. And I was about 4 or 5 years old. They flew over San Diego. And then I remember seeing Lindbergh at the stadium. And I remember, and I've always been a great admirer of Lindbergh, especially the way with the hero that he was, certainly the great tragedy that he's had, but his great obsession to wanting to be alone. He wanted his own life. He didn't want to be glamorized, or he didn't want to be, affected by all the limelight.
And yet he had a desire to do the things that were bound to get him.
And he's still doing great things. He's still doing great things. And man, I admire. And I put him in the 5 men that I admire the most that I've ever known, in my lifetime.
What Ted Williams saw at that stage of his life in himself was a shy, introverted kid who grew up biting his nails and recoiling from social situations, a kid whose only real mode of expression was baseball.
So about this time I make the team the first year, and I'm starting high school, and about 15 years of age, 15, I started to play sandlot baseball. I'm still playing American Legion baseball. Now don't forget, I'm practicing all the time. Playing American Legion baseball. I'm playing sandlot baseball. So I had opportunity in the sunny Southern California, and a playground a block away. Now our sandlot teams and our American Legion teams would challenge the Lexington and the Saratoga baseball teams, because if anybody had equipment, it was the Navy. So we'd warm up with our balls and throw one in an ash can, and nobody knew where it was. We'd come back and get it. or a broken bat that wasn't too bad, they'd leave it, we'd take it. And they had pretty good, the Saratoga and Lexington had pretty good baseball teams. What the hell, they had a complement of board of 1,000 men, 600, 700, 800 men, all of them athletic. You know, they were just doing nothing. They were in the service, but you know, no wars for 10, 15 years, and you know, everything great. Not making too much, but a lot of fun.
Where was this in relationship to the harbor? I guess you were fairly close then. Huh?
San Diego at the time
Everything
was
is close
less
to
than 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And now it's 650,000 people. And at that time, San Diego was a pretty nice little town. Now, here's where Mr. Cassie comes in the act. His boy and I played on the same team, and his boy is the principal of Hoover High today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Les Cassie. Or, Les Cassie.
His father's name was Les too?
I think his father's name was Les, but I'm not sure. I forget. I used to call him Mr. Cassie. And he liked to fish. He was on the school, not board, but school maintenance. He was a kind of a supervisor or something in fixing schools and desks and lights and, you know, that type of stuff. Maintenance, school board, school system. And Les and I were in school together. Les would play. And of course, I was a little better ball player than Les. And Les always kind of, in a small way, kind of thought, you know, gee, Ted's a good ball player. And we got along great. I used to go to his house a lot. But Mr. Cassie used to like to fish. And I liked to fish, but I never had a chance to go. And he'd make an old Calcutta rod, and all I need is a reel, boy, and away we'd go. And he'd fish every Saturday night. Well, every Saturday night. Or Friday night. Friday night's when we'd go. Friday night's when we'd go. Because then we could fish till Saturday morning, and then have all day Saturday and Sunday while we'd play ball. Sometimes I'd play on Saturday, but I remember more. And I used to hunt a lot, too. I'd save as much as I could to get 10 shotgun shells and walk 4 miles down Imperial Valley, which is all pretty motels and golf courses now, and hunt rabbits down there. And
what'd you do for a gun?
well, a friend of mine had a 410 shotgun, and we'd go together, see?
Yeah.
And,
were you close? Are you close to him, and you're close to? You had a lot of close friends in those days.
not too many close friends. I can name 4 or 5, maybe.
Yeah.
3 or 4. Dick Montgomery, who was later, he was an amateur boxer and tough little guy. Died, had a heart attack, 50 years old, died, 45, 48 years old, died. Hell of a nice guy. I used to hunt with him all that. Joe Villarino, a little boy that I went to school with, also played in the Hoover team. It was an awfully nice little guy, and I don't know what he's doing exactly, but he's doing pretty good. And it was a baseball-playing family, just like the Talamanis were a baseball-playing family, you know? The playground director, Rod Luscombe at North Park, was a great influence on me because he liked to play. He was what you might say a frustrated athlete because he always hoped, I'm sure, that he could have been a big player. He went to the University of Arizona with Hank Lieber. Hank Lieber became an outstanding player, and then he got hit in the head and fouled him up. But Rod Luscombe was a big, powerful guy, big 6'3", hell of a nice guy. And he was a playground director, and he used to like to hit. You'd think he was going into pro ball himself. He's about 24-5 now, see? And we'd have little games. I'd throw him breaking stuff, he'd throw me breaking stuff. And we'd play that way. And but then Mr. Cassidy and I, we'd go fishing Friday nights. And I probably went fishing with Mr. Cassie 50 times at night. And he had an ulcer, I remember that. And all he could eat was graham crackers, chocolates, and milk. Well, that was all right for me. I wasn't eating too good anyway, and he didn't want to eat anyway. I remember I'd eat all his damn dinner for him. And we'd fish for croakers and corvinas all night. You take a kid 14 years old, he's getting up pretty early. He's got a lot of activity going, you know. The eager beaver and all that stuff. I'd be so damn tired at 3:30 and 4 in the morning. We'd come home. I'd go to sleep every time. Must have been lousy company for him. But he was the nicest, dearest man. In fact, when I went to spring training, the first year, he made the trip from California to Florida with me.
He drove you?
Well, no, I had my car, but he helped drive, and he went with me. And he was the nicest man. Oh, I just loved him. I used to always think how lucky Les was to have a father like him, because he was such a nice man. Not that I didn't love my father, because I did, but he was an altogether different type of guy. My dad, he wanted to, he was just satisfied to let things go as they were.
Did he travel, your dad? Was he a traveling man?
No. He had this little photography shop.
Yeah.
And these sailors would come up from the docks and stuff, they'd come right up Fifth Avenue, and he had a little photography shop upstairs, see? And they'd get passport pictures, or people to get passport pictures, and maybe the gob and his gal friend, and sailor that wanted to show his mother a picture from the West Coast, and that type of stuff. That's the kind of, he had a little shop, not much. It was upstairs, a pretty big room, as a matter of fact, but he didn't do that much business.
He wasn't athletic, your dad?
No, the only thing my dad liked to do was to ride horses, because of his early cavalry. He was in the 14th Cavalry, now where the hell that was. And he liked to shoot, and he later became U.S. Marshal in San Diego. The best job he ever had. It was kind of a political thing, because he was for Governor Merriam, who got elected. Somebody pulled strings and
Is that after you were in big league ball?
No, before. This was in 34, 5, 6. And so.
Why do they refer to him as a wanderer?
Oh, that's a lot of bullshit.
Is
that was stuff that wasn't right either. That was stuff that. What the hell? He lived with my mother 20 years and finally he had to pack up. I'd have packed up too, because my mother was strictly Salvation Army, strictly non-family, a wonderful woman in so many ways, but I wouldn't want to be married to a gal like that. She, again, the house was dirty, and Jesus, I hated it. So anyway, this takes you up to about 34, right now, 34. Mr. Cassidy. The fellow next door to me took me fishing, lake fishing, and I got my first bass in those years. An awful nice guy, Chick Roder. And the fellow across the street was one of the greatest guys I ever met, with Johnny Lutz. And he's been in a wheelchair for 15 years now, and a wonderful, greatest shot I ever saw. Great trap shot, great skeet shot, great game shot, great pistol shot, great rifle shot.
This was a man when you were a boy.
Yeah, he was. I think John's probably 10 years older than I am, maybe 12, in the wheelchair.
Oh, well, then you had access then to equipment.
Yeah,
it
sure.
It didn't have to be your own.
Yeah, but I've always been grateful for those guys, because they at least started me in a small way in something I knew I wanted to do, but I would have never if I'd lived in a big town. See, I lived in a little town, San Diego, where I knew the people.